Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Angle Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joey Carney, and with me today is someone who, whether you see him being a killer in the ring or on camera in movies or just being an author, his life is truly fighting. Please welcome Karrion Kross. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good, man. How are you?
I am great. I'm great that we're finally here talking your book. It's finally out. What's the feeling like for you personally, seeing now this thing you created is finally out and people are responding?
The response that I've been getting from people has been really, really good. People are finding like a common ground, sort of a relation, having revelations about some of the own things that they're going through. Kind of like all the things I hoped would happen when people are reading this seem to be happening. And I didn't want to like tell people what I was hoping was going to happen when they read it, because then you're sort of like putting it out there, and you know what I mean? I didn't want it to be an echo chamber, but the way people feel about the book so far, it's making me really happy. And I'm glad people actually took the time to read it and tell me about it.
I was doing some research before, trying to see what questions haven't been asked yet to you about this book. And I know that you said you didn't see yourself necessarily writing a book because of the vulnerability aspect and having to relive other or certain stories in the book. But from a fan perspective, your in-ring character has always been someone who brings the emotion out of people, who brings the vulnerability out of the opponent. So is there a correlation between you, the guy, and you, the character? How do you balance that out?
I don't think so. I think the character is a full-blown maniac, that's fun to play. I mean, you ask anybody who does entertainment, film, television, whatever, and it's usually fun to play those types of characters, and people usually have a good time watching them because there's something alluring about just being unhinged, right? In society, every single day, people, go to work and they go outside, and yeah, of course, there's a range of freedom that we all have, but real life is not GTA 5. You can't flip out and just be like that, but Karrion Kross can, so it's fun.
Are there any stories in the book that, now having relived it, and also I'm sure you read it back 100 times, any stories that you feel differently about now? Maybe something that you felt one way writing it, and now you're looking back and you're like, I see it from maybe a different perspective? Or how has that process really been for you?
Not yet. You never know. Maybe one day I will,
Yeah.
but I feel so unexpectedly comfortable actually now. I was not expecting to feel this way. I've been in this space privately for a very long time where like some days I'm feeling really confident about the process and I'm like, yeah, I got through it. And then like there'll be like another day where I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But like I'm starting to ease into it, and the I feel good about what's in the book. I have a lot of stories that are actually very similar to the ones that I told, and if I had told all of them, they would have been so similar. Like this, those stories would have jumped out. Like a lot of nights, working nightclubs.
Yeah.
That was one of the most violent nights I had ever worked that I put in the book. So I put that one in there instead of the dozen other stories I could tell you. Fighting in diners and stuff like that. That happened a few times, but that only ever happened really, really bad at Fran's that one time. And I was super embarrassed about it. But yeah, I feel so far so good, man.
You know what's funny about this? I come from an Italian family from New Jersey, and some in New York as well. And hearing some of these stories, I'm like, this feels so familiar. Like I feel like there's some stories of the up north perspective on life where it ties into the title, where everything is fighting. Life is fighting. And now having that on paper out in the public, going on book tours, talking to fans, how does it feel maybe being or having these stories brought up? Or is it something now that you've kind of made peace with, where people are going to ask you, you don't know really what they're going to ask, but it's going to be one or other of these stories. So how do you go about that?
I'm ready for it. And I'll tell you, there's no way that I would have put these stories in the book and I would have like closed myself off to discuss them with people,
Okay.
because I don't know, that would have been like it falls into the category of like self-terrorizing. So I don't want to do that to myself.
Yeah.
But there was like a point in time where I was writing this and I was like, man, so I'm actually gonna get this published. I had those moments where I was like, holy cow. But then
Yeah.
I was like, no, you know what? I am gonna get this published. In this particular case, I did something wrong. In another particular case, I didn't do anything wrong. But I'm way ahead of this stuff now, and I'm not perfect, and nobody else is. And I just feel like it's difficult for people to talk about this stuff in life because number one, you sometimes you have to chalk things up as a loss. Loss is a part of life, and that part is not romanticized about in social media and just normal social discussions. We always want to talk about, hey, what do you do for a living? How much money do you make? Who do you know? And there's just like this gross courting that we all consciously or subconsciously do socially with like what we attach to our identities. No one's ever talking about the real shit.
Yeah.
And I just
Substance.
thought like, yeah, I want to get ahead of that. I want to have a conversation or I want to tell stories in this book that I would tell to like my very close friends and literally nobody else. And I think that's what resonates. That's what you don't have to tell somebody sometimes that you're telling the truth. They can sort of feel it,
Yeah.
or like there won't be as much of a doubt that what you're talking about really happened because it's not pretty and it's not flattering either.
The biggest aspect I think is taking the ego out of it, where it's not like, take yourself out of it completely and just let it be what it is. And I feel like a lot of people today don't have that ability to really take their ego out and admit wrongs or tell truths or whatever the case may be. It's a really hard thing for people to do today.
Yes. And then even still sometimes like you'll get the opposite end where people will do it to sort of bring attention to themselves, sympathy, and then they try to weaponize that sympathy or optimize it to use that as a vehicle to get to the next thing or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to put it on paper, and I'm going to trust the universe that people are going to pick up what I'm dropping down, and they're going to know. But it's so interesting to me that you said that you're from the Northeast and you get it. Um, yeah, like socially, where we all grew up in that area,
Yeah.
Northeast, whether it's the New England area or it's New York, New Jersey, all that stuff. You never know who anybody is when growing up,
Yeah.
and you don't go outside looking for problems because you will find them, and you never know if somebody's strapped up. Like just the certain way you're supposed to behave and conduct yourself in public. When you don't do it that way, well, like shit's gonna shit's gonna get fucking rowdy real quick.
Especially today. You never know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a little wild. Uh, Life is Fighting, the title. I know where it came from. I know who came up with that name. But seeing where you are today, to me personally, you're one of the realest things I see in wrestling. Fighting through the release, fighting for your spot when you came back, TV time, whatever it is, always fighting for something. And really all these stories come in between. Taking yourself out of it, looking at maybe as a fan, what does it all mean to you? What is Life is Fighting mean to you?
Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're in a fight.
Yeah.
You have to fight to literally just get out of bed sometimes. Sometimes literally putting one foot in front of the other in the morning to walk to the restroom, look yourself in the mirror, and brush your teeth and go to work. That's a fight. You might have the job that you don't really want right now that's completely transitional and you dread going there every day, but you know that it has to be done in order to get to that next thing.
Yeah.
Not freaking out in traffic, gridlock traffic, trying to get home. That's a fight.
Do it
You're
all the
fighting
time.
against yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want people to begin appreciating themselves through reading my book and understanding that they're winning battles all the time.
Yeah.
They might not always feel like they're battles, but they are. Some are harder than others.
Yeah.
Not losing your shit in the process of grieving, that's a fight.
Yeah.
And I just came to a realization that all of us, it's not just me, but all of us, the fact that we're here right now on this day Every other day behind us was a win, and it was a battle. It was a fight to get here. As we get older, it gets harder. When we were little, when we were kids, a lot of us have the luxury of being taken care of by our parents. And then as you get to a certain age, your parents get older. They can't do it anymore. You have to become involved, and you go from having hopefully somewhat of a sheltered life where you're in a safe environment and you have love around you. Then all of a sudden you got to go for a 20-minute walk farther away from your house than you ever have in your whole life, and you find out the world's really different without your parents, and they're
Yes.
talking to you completely different as you're older. And then that carries on until you're old. And
Yep.
every single day that was a fight, and it was a fight that people wanted to get here to hear this today.
I love how your on-screen character has Scarlett, and just like you do in real life, is this book has this book been a collaborative effort with her? Like, how much of a role has she played, not only in the backstory, but also in the creation of it and the motivation to get through it and all of that, really?
Well, she was definitely one of the people out of about a dozen over like a 7-day period who told me, I think it's time that you write a book. I've spoken about this before, but in point form, there was like a week where I had like a dozen people, maybe even it was so many people, like a ridiculous amount of people that didn't even know each other, that were all telling me over a period of a week that I should write a book, and I took it as a message that I really should. It started out with 5 or 6 people, and then it was just it was the strangest thing. I had her read it over once I thought it was complete. And of course, I had her read the passages about her and I, and I just wanted to know if she was comfortable with me talking about it. And she was like, whatever you write, I'm going to be comfortable because it's going to be the truth. And she read it and she was just like, put it out there.
Uh, your process of I'm generalizing here because I'm so fascinated by it because, like I said before, you're one of the most authentic, I think, people in wrestling today. What is the process behind whether it's your ideas, you're coming up with ideas, transmitting them to WWE Creative, writing the book, all the doc that I'm going to get into in a little while? How do you go about your process behind everything, really?
I don't necessarily know that I have a specific system or a process.
Yeah.
I just get a feeling that something should be done. And if I don't follow that feeling, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So eventually it's something that I feel like I need to make happen. And 10 times out of 10, every time I follow that feeling, it winds up being a really good thing. You could call it your gut instinct or intuition, whatever you want. But sometimes just certain things speak to me louder than others. And I got to go in that direction. I have to do it. And
Yeah.
if I'm going to learn from anything in my life, it's not repeating the same mistakes, and also going back to the things that work that will always work. And that's kind of, if I had to give you a process, that would be it.
I was at SummerSlam this past weekend, and I was talking to people in while watching your match. Like we were like commentating while watching the match with Sammy, and someone said to me, "You can tell how much he loves this by like what he's doing in the ring." And to me, I'm like, this is like one of the most passionate people in the business because we're watching the character work outside of the ring. We're watching what's going on in the ring, and then that walk after the match, and people were kind of contemplating what's next, and you could just see the passion that you and Scarlett both have. Where does that passion come from? Where does it how does it resonate with you?
I don't know. I actually don't know. And I think the reason I don't know is probably because it's deeply subconscious. All I can tell you is that I have loved wrestling since I was a little kid.
Yeah,
It was never actually like a plan B for me. It was something I always wanted to do. It just took me a long time to find the confidence to pursue it.
yeah.
I tried every other job I possibly could do to make wrestling in my head go away, and it never worked. And I just know what it's like to not have this. And I never forgot that. I remember the days, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I remember the days of going through like a Starbucks drive through, and before I like could buy a coffee, I'd have to go on my bank app and make sure that I had enough money in my checking account, like that this was not going to put me over.
Yeah.
But I remember those days, and to have the privilege to walk down the ramp of SummerSlam. It's an event I've been watching since I was a little kid on VHS. Oh, it was really awesome. And I would love to tell you that there was more that I wish that I could have done with Sammy. And I wish I could have done things a little bit differently, a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Um, I still was very grateful to be out there and to do that for you guys. And yeah, once the match was over, I just had I had a weird feeling. I had a, this will all make sense later. Let's put it that way.
I love it. I'm sorry if I'm bouncing around here. I'm trying to talk about the book. I'm trying to talk about where you're kind of going with everything. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the comments made by Paul Heyman yesterday on Ariel Helwani, because it really like it kind of set everything in my mind. Like, okay, this is something, and people are realizing what's happening here. It's not just the fans. It's not just other journalists like Ariel Helwani. It's Paul Heyman. It's people in WWE who are realizing that this is not going away. This We Want Kross movement is here. How did it feel to hear him talk about you in such a way, comparing to Stone Cold, even being mentioned about the Yes movement and Kofi Mania, all these different things all into a ball? Like, what did you feel seeing all that take place?
Just really honored. Really honored. I used to watch Ariel before I had anything to do with wrestling. I watched him forever. When people didn't even know who he was, I was living in Toronto at the time. I knew who he was. I knew all of his stuff. With Paul, I mean, his vision that he brought to life in ECW very largely shaped how my imagination works today.
There's a correlation.
Like, yeah, like he showed all of us through this vision that he had with his performers and all of them as well of what wrestling could be. And I've privately told him this. I don't like to name drop. I've had so many conversations with Paul over the years, and I've never ever mentioned them on social media or in anything, because I never want him to feel like, oh, if I have a conversation with him, is he doing this so he can? It's nothing like that. I'm very honored that Paul said something, and um, I have a very unique respect for Paul Heyman, because if you know his story, how he got involved with Eastern Championship Wrestling and how it came to be Extreme Championship Wrestling. Paul was in a fight of his own. He had ideas and he had visions and
Yeah.
he was right. But you're always going to be wrong until no one else can say that you're wrong, and it becomes so obvious that you're right, even if you were right the whole time.
Yeah.
That was Paul Heyman, and to get a compliment like that from him, it really means a lot.
The whole thing out, like looking at I keep calling it the We Want Cross movement, because that's what I'm seeing across social media. And it's becoming something so special, because it's not just something for fans to get behind. It's something like they feel in themselves, especially with the book out now. Everyone's fighting their own battle, like you said. Everyone's fighting their own fight in life. And I feel like fans are behind you because they feel very similar in that sense. They're fighting for the opportunity in whatever situation they're in. They're fighting for whatever they're going through. Taking yourself out of the picture and looking at it from a fan perspective, what do you see being the meaning, the true definition of this movement? Like, where do you see, what's your idea of it?
I don't necessarily know if I have a general idea of it or if I'd even want to create sort of like an overarching statement about it, because
Yeah.
I didn't create it. It's not mine. I just they've made me a part of it, and I've said this before, but like there's really no other way for me to say it. This has been one of the coolest experiences of my entire life, and I've been really fortunate to have a lot of really unique experiences traveling the world, to walk into a building and there's people waiting for you outside the buildings and the airports, and they're screaming "We Want Kross," to getting into the building and you're backstage and they're screaming "We Want Kross." Then you walk out there and they're screaming "We Want Kross." And then you're leaving the building. The show is over. It's been a long day. they're outside the building in front of your car on the way to the parking lot screaming, "We want Cross." You like, I don't know how to put that into words. I mean,
They were demanding the merch. Like it's crazy like how it's taken off, and you let them know you see it. Like and that's the
yes,
cool part. That's the
absolutely.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not going to ignore that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that would have been right. I don't think that's the right thing to do.
I want to touch on the Killer, the documentary you did on YouTube, WrestleMania week, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the passion and even just the title, like Life is Fighting, where you created your own spot during WrestleMania week. You did that doc and you made it known that like you're here, this is your hometown, and you need to be a part of this somewhat. Uh, I loved the fact that you said the grass is greener on the other side. The grass is greener on the other side. If that, F that, water your own grass, the lawn, fertile. Like that whole thing was just. I was like, wow, this is real. What did it mean for you to have that documentary and then say that and see the response?
I'm glad that it spoke to people on a real level.
Yeah,
It's not a scripted promo. It's really how I feel. It's the way I've lived my life. And, the reality is like sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it to, but I'm willing to die on the sword.
yeah,
And I think that still means something in life. Everyone is always ready to burn bridges and turn around and flip everybody the middle finger when it doesn't work out.
yeah,
I prefer to take the high road. I'm not even saying people doing that is necessarily the wrong thing. Sometimes that's the right thing to do.
yeah,
But me personally, like I have a code of honor that I need to uphold to myself.
yeah,
There were periods in my life where, as a young man, I resented the decisions that I made. I talked about some of it in the book. I don't like living with self resentment. And right now, to this day, as I'm speaking to you in my life, I hold no self resentment towards anything I've ever said or done. I've made peace with everything. And I don't want to disrupt that. I'm not, and I'm the only one who could disrupt that. I'm the only one who could be at fault for that. And I think that's such a powerful thing in life. Of all the things you can have, materialism, uh, people chanting your name, your health, things to appreciate, whether they're important or trivial. I think by far one of the most important things that you can have is peace of mind because a lot of people don't, and it's priceless.
I have a few questions left for you here, and we'll wrap up. Like I said before, you're one of the most passionate people I've encountered in the wrestling business, just based upon the character work and where in a world where we see a lot of superstars and wrestlers today really fueling their self with authenticity opposed to the depth of a character, you have that great balance of incorporating these different factors that is it real? Is it a character? It makes you debate what is and what is not. The idea of being a good soldier, that idea to me is just kind of goes like hand in hand with everything you've been talking about the last few years in your career. Uh, Being a good soldier, what is that definition to you?
Doing what you're told, doing what you're told, and essentially, just if you've been briefed and this is what they want, whether you agree with the mission or not, you
Yeah,
need to make sure it's mission accomplished. And it's just, look, life is not fair. I know that. Everybody loves to be an idealist,
yeah,
me included, admittedly. But there has to be some sort of balance of fairness. Otherwise, if we're not going to operate or proceed with a code of morality and ethics,
yeah.
then this is mayhem. And there's no reason whatsoever to follow orders then. So let's not go to the far end of shit. Let's find a common ground. And we can all be individuals operating together in harmony, but we don't need to create a conveyor belt of robots here to get shit done. And that's that's as real as I can get for you.
I love that. Life is Fighting is out now. Was the expectation personally for you that you thought you would get from the fans? Like, what did you expect to hear and see from the fans, opposed to what you're actually seeing take place?
I didn't set myself up for disappointment by projecting an
Yeah,
expectation, because
yeah,
I figured if I did that and I get crushed, it might be, I might not be able to walk away from that one. But I was hoping to get the reception that I'm getting right now for it. I just want people to feel good when they're reading it. That was like really what I was trying to accomplish.
yeah,
As long as people are feeling good with this, and feeling good doesn't necessarily mean that you're reading a 30-step self-help book. Sometimes that makes people feel like shit because they're like, there's 15 steps in here that I can't do.
yeah,
So, and I made a joke about in the book about, from a wimp to a warrior, and,
yeah,
not to totally attack that specifically, but just the idea of, you know, uh, these rigid concepts
yeah,
that they say will help you that don't work for everybody.
yeah.
They don't work. Like, I wanted at the very least for people to be able to read this and feel like they're glad that they read it and they enjoyed it. That's what I wanted.
It's not a book that you would say like a wrestler wrote, and I'm saying in the best way possible.
Oh,
Like there,
thank you. Thank you.
there have been other books that pro wrestlers have written, and it feels like they sat with a reporter and talked about the highlights. And this is not that. This is like, I'm going to be straight with you. This is hard. This is life, and it is what it is. And what we see on TV and what we see on social media, it all ties together. And you're like, I know this dude. Like, I get it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from everything so far.
Thank God. And thank you for saying that. Like, that's everything you just said was what I was hoping was going to read from the book and what people were going to take from it. And I'm really just I'm very, very happy about it all right now. I guess that's just the best way I can put it. I'm happy that people are happy. So
The last question for you. I'm not putting my journalism hat on or anything like that. There's some rumblings on social media, whatever the case may be. Is there a chance that we could see Karrion Kross and Scarlett moving forward on Monday Night Raw?
I hope so. I see things being written online right now, specifically today.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
a lot of what I read is not true. I hate to disappoint people, but I don't want to bullshit.
okay.
But I hope so. I hope we do come back.
I like to put my fantasy booker cap on sometimes. And I put something up a few days ago and I said, what if we're not seeing Karrion Kross return? What if we see Killer Kross return? And
Mm.
we're reversing the role here. And there were journalists that came at me and they're like, this is not happening. This is not the situation. I'm like, just throwing out what I think could be fun, you know?
If
So
that's what people wanted, I would 100% do it. If they wanted me to turn the volume up and give them Killer Cross and the company would let me, I would do it in a heartbeat.
yeah, I love it. Uh, as we wrap up here, I want to thank you for your time today, but not only that, for your generosity with the fans, from your in-ring work to the doc to the book. I mean, everything that you do is genuine, and it shows that you genuinely care about people, I think. And it's, from that standpoint, it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you for everything that you do, and I'm really excited for more truth telling in the future.
Thank you so much, man. This was really cool. I appreciate you taking the time to review my book with me, and just appreciate it all. Thank you.
Awesome. And for those listening and watching, if you haven't heard by now, Life is Fighting is out now. And for any of the fans, again, listening and watching, where could they go pick up the book? Where could they follow you? Obviously, they do follow you. Most of them follow you. But where could they go learn more about the book?
Amazon, you can actually have the book delivered right to your house, or if you'd like to go get it in person for that experience, Barnes and Noble, they have it. Just about any bookstore I think in your area is going to have this. If you want to make it even easier, if you just click on my social media at Real Killer Cross, I have a link tree in every bio. If you click that, it'll take you to the link where you can just go directly to the book.
Awesome. And again, thank you for your time. This has been, I was planning for this and I had written, no joke, almost 3 pages of questions that I was like, I have to figure out how to get these all in somehow. But it was a pleasure to talk and I'm excited for the future.
Thank you so much, man.